Greetings and welcome back, Blade Gang. This old sword is with you with my latest iteration of what I had called in the past fixed blade pocket check. And here's the premise for this. These are blades that are all small enough to carry in the front pocket, even though you see many of them with various fixtures for attaching to belt and clipping and clamping and that kind of thing. There are really 6 unique blades that are newer to this grouping, and one that's sort of my standard to judge them by. And that standard, by the way, is up here in the corner, and that is the Street Beat by Spyderco, a knife which I think all others need to be compared to for usability, portability. Doesn't matter whether you're carrying this as a last-ditch defense item or everyday carry for cutting chores. That's what we're looking for with all of these, really. And we have a broad price range on these as well, all the way from a budget $40 to $50 knife in the case of the Sencut Waxahachie. Love those long, complex names that I can't pronounce, like towns in Texas. All the way up to $300 knives in the Bastinelli price range. So here we go. I left them all in the sheaths so you can see the sheath they come with. I'll take them out. Final shot will be all of these together with the sheaths off. So why don't we begin with kind of the bottom rung price-wise in a beautiful knife that I've really become enamored with from the Civivi knife brand, their budget line called Sencut. And this is the Waxahachie, as I said. It is a surprisingly useful knife, which is small enough to be dropped in a front pocket. That's the criteria here. Useful in that we've got a high flat grind for everyday chores. We've got a point, which is very useful, whether that point is being used for last-ditch defense in the aid of a firearm or a larger knife, or even carried with a folding knife in the front pocket. This can be carried on the gear as well, but again, we're talking front pocket. So this is going to fit very nicely in a standard pocket. And sorry, I didn't bring my test jeans to lay down on the table. We're kind of short of space here. And I like to keep it simple as much as I can. But this thumbs off, and that's one of the criteria that I'm looking for. All of these don't meet that criteria as far as thumbing off goes, which is unfortunate, and I'll show you what I mean in a few minutes. But this is so light with all of that skeletonizing. Holds really well, and no matter what your grip is, you can cap it with the thumb, point down, edge out. Really a useful blade. So that's the Waxahachie. Next up, also by Civivi, is something that came out very recently. It's called their Midwatch. Extremely light knife, I think like in the 3-ounce area or less. By the way, if you're looking for more details on any of these, I have reviews on each. Just look them up on the channel. I will provide purchase links to all of these, so look for that if you're interested in delving deeper into it. This can certainly be carried easily in the front pocket. And wrong sheath. And can be thumbed off. See, that's important because if it's not attached to anything in the pocket, thumbing it off is going to be the best way to get it out of the pocket without carving up your pants or yourself. We got some interesting holes in the middle that are lightning holes that go right through the handle, similar to the Waxahachie. Very thin stock on the blade and a high flat grind. By the way, the Waxahachie is 9CR18 MOV, and I'm going to have to look this one up. Unfortunately, it's not on the blade, but I guess if we're looking for minimal branding, that is a good thing. It's N690 for the Midwatch. It's such a light knife that, and it's got a little bit of a short handle. It's a 3-finger handle unless you put your pinky through the ring. And it's set up like a karambit. Yes, it can be used in that style with the edge out. So it does serve that tactical sort of function. And it's so light, you're not even going to feel this thing in the pocket. It's probably lighter than the sheath, or about the same weight. It's just air weight. Moving on, let's grab a custom or semi-custom, which you could call mid-tech. This is the Kell Nightshade. Comes in a couple different varieties. This one is the Wharncliffe style, sharpened on the swedge and sharpened on the main edge. And it's razor sharp for that fairly blunt, short grind. Tim Kell has really achieved quite something with this. As far as a really small, lightweight knife, and by the way, this sheath is really outstanding. I wish more companies would do this. You've got, look at that, not only a push off for the thumb, but it's heavily jimped. It's actually spiny. I mean, you're not going to slip off of that. When you want that to come off, it's going to just pop right off. And it is minimal, just like the blade. And look at this. He added a tensioner. That's what that little screw is there. It's like a T2 or some ridiculous thing. When this first came to me for review, the sheath was very tight. I looked at that and said, aha, let me see if I can back off of that a little bit. And then, perfect. So this will drop in the pocket like nobody's business, or on your belt for that matter. And it did come with a lot of different mounting hardware, including a discrete carry concept clip, and I think one other style of mount, I'm not sure. But Tim gives you the whole kit and caboodle when you get a knife from his company. You have optional scales. You've got these special screws that you can use for lashing, and a nice big ring. So if you've got big fingers or you're wearing gloves, you can easily get through that ring. And you've got a striking knob on the end there as well. A problem I find with most rings on knives is that, use this one as an example, Midwatch. This actually set up pretty well. See that 90 degrees for jabbing? If the ring is not offset like this and it stands up in line with the handle, what you get is this kind of position with the hand. And that's fine for short cuts, but you might miss too. But if you can get that blade out to 90 degrees, then you've got a stronger cut outward and you've got a better chance of jabbing straight down. Again, something like this is set up well for utility as well. So I'm not thinking of these only as defensive knives. Getting back to the Nightshade, this is in 1095. He uses a special slippery coating on it, and the name eludes me at the moment, unfortunately. But check the review on this and you'll get all those details. But he is changing as time goes on to experimenting with different coatings and whatnot. But it protects the blade. You can't see it there much, but it is a nickel-based coating on that blade. You've got 3 fingers plus the pinky, or you can stay out of the ring entirely. I like the ring a lot of times, not for grip retention, but for snapping it out of the sheath when the sheath is attached to either a neck lanyard or out of the sheath on the belt. Really nice G10 two-tone is what he calls his bullet grip, I believe. And you can find this, I think, in one other blade style. I'll leave you a link to Tim's site for that knife. Okay, moving on, let's go right around the circle here. This is the Viper Lille 2, Lille 2. This is set up so well for pocket carry. Look at how they put that lip for push off right there. And so it's a little tight still, but it will come out. Not to mention, if we're talking pockets, we've got an ulti-clip on this one. So you can undo that ulti-clip, clip it to your pocket, and if you know ulti-clips, it's not going anywhere. So it'll fit into the pocket right up to about there, not fully down. You can have most of the handle sticking out of your pocket if you want to carry it that way. If not, the ulti-clip doesn't take up much room. You can leave it on there or take it off and simply put the sheath only in the pocket and thumb it off. Now, this is a higher quality knife. They're using Elmax. It's a Waxahachie design. Jesper Waxahachie, a great designer of small fixed blade knives and some folders as well. We've got jimping in here. We've got jimping out there for your thumb. The grip is just incredible. And he gives you a really nice, safe choil to use for your finger, or you can palm it and be back here. And it's really not that bad a thruster, but it's also a great utility blade. Extremely sharp, high flat grind. It's a beautiful little knife. Comes with this Arctic style fat carbon handle. Comes in a bunch of other handle colors as well. And I think I picked this up for somewhere around $150, $160. Less discount, Old Sword coupon code at White Mountain Knives. Really a cool little blade and surprisingly nice. First one from that company for me. Coming around the circle here, coming around the bend. This is the Bastinelli Chopper. Everything about this knife I absolutely love when the knife is out of the sheath. But you can see the problem here, you can't thumb it off. So on the belt, it's going to come out just fine. But what I'm thinking of doing, and you know, other Bastinelli knives have had this done, and they come through this way, but you can heat up the Kydex with a heat gun, put like a round object in there, like maybe a hole punch, drift pin, whatnot, and when it's in the sheath, just kind of flex that up and create your own tunnel. That's what that needs. Otherwise, carry it on the belt, scout carry, inside the pants, whatnot. But that's not going to get thumbed off. I've tried it. There's just no provision for it, unfortunately, because this is a beautiful knife. It's about a $300 knife, and a lot of people scream when they hear that price. He's kind of in the Microtech knife category as far as pricing goes. There actually have been some collaborations between him and Microtech. But this is one of the most comfortable knives to hold for a slim, inconspicuous knife. You may or may not like the upturned Persian. It's called the Chopper. It comes in M390. And this one, as far as I can tell, is USA made. Now, I don't know who's making Bastinelli's USA knives. Some say it could be Microtech. Some have some other ideas, but this is not your usual Fox or Lion Steel made Bastinelli knife. It is extremely sharp, high flat grind, gives you jimping everywhere. even all the way out to the point there, should you want to do detail work with it. Although you're going to need to stand this right up almost vertically in order to engage that point for any EDC type work. But again, so black G10 handles on this. I think it comes with the green G10 handles as well. Just a solid little knife. Very confidence inspiring. Works extremely well in point down, edge out. You can cap your thumb. And of course, the jimping runs all the way around pretty much. That is the Bastinelli Chopper. Okay. Last of the newer breed here, or newer for me that I've acquired, is this mini Kaiken Osirako Zukuri style blade from Williams Blade Design. Made in Italy by Lion Steel. This is from Sleipner Steel. Sleipner, S-L-E-I-P-N-E-R. Yeah, Lion Steel. I would say, as far as a all-around useful knife, completely neutral handle, really nice gray micarta, completely encased tang, as was the chopper, by the way. No jimping here, but here is your traditional V-grind. This is a style of tanto, and a lot of people are going to say that's not a tanto because they're thinking chisel point a la cold steel, which came about in the early 80s. If you see my video on what is a tanto. But this is considered a tanto style knife, specifically the Osirako Zukuri. Neutral handle. Any way you want to hold this knife, it is possible. So whatever your preference is, point down, edge in, point up, edge out, edge back towards you, point up, whatever. Completely neutral handle. Are you going to slip on it? No, not if you're holding it correctly. You've got these milled in grooves that simulate the wrapped handle. But at the same time, if you check some videos out there on YouTube, James Williams is showing you how he can punch this through sheet metal. All you got to do is palm it, and it's not going anywhere. You're not going to slip on that knife. And he shows that it's possible. Comes with an interesting raised screw along with the flat screws only there. So you can tell immediately in the dark where the edge is facing. So in the right hand, edge forward, point up, you know it's there. If you want edge forward, you know it's going to be over here. Whatever your style is, you can adapt it to this knife. And as I say, Sleipner steel, very piercy, very pointy, but at the same time having a useful edge. Okay, let's put that guy back. And here, of course, as I said, is the standard by which I judge all the rest as far as a useful fixed blade pocket carry goes. This is, of course, the Spyderco Street Beat. And there is the Street Bowie, etc., the larger version of this. This is the 3.5-inch blade. It is designed by Fred Perrin, famous French knife designer and maker and combatives teacher. It's got a scalpel-like handle, very rounded and smooth. Somebody said they didn't like it because the seam shows. Well, this is not a custom knife. You can pick these up for under 100, I believe. There is the Spyderco Street Beat logo, and there's the Fred Perrin design. It's basically a little Bowie, a little clip point. It is from VG10. Let's see. Yeah, this is an earlier model. VG10, made in Japan, might still be made in Japan for Spyderco. I'm not sure. Hand-filling handle for a little knife. Still slim. And look at the contouring. How you've got a swell in the middle and narrow here, and then it swells back out at the pommel. You can hold it this way. You can jack it all the way back and use 90 degrees, square to the hand, whatever you choose. Lanyard hole, whole 9 yards. That's a beautiful little knife. And when I consider these other blades, I usually think of that little knife. Very useful, very pocket friendly. So there you go. That's my 2023 roundup of some newer front pocket carry knives. They got to be small enough to fit in the front pocket. They should be able to get thumbed off, and they should have both utilitarian as well as last-ditch defensive capabilities. Okay, let me know what you think. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Be well.